SFLR network, we have the American Forest Foundation, the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities, NRCS, which is the Natural Resource Conservation Service, an entity of USDA. Another entity of USDA is the United States Forest Service, and they're also a partner to this program. And then two private foundations, Mary Reynolds Babcock Foundation and the JPD Foundation. So if you haven't guessed by now, partnership is really driving the success of this program, along with some other factors that we'll hear from our guests in a minute. To date, we've achieved a lot of success. We have over 1,000 landowners in the program, over 80,000 acres in the program, over 1,000 forest management plans, over 1,100 forestry practices in place, and then over 565 succession planning services have been delivered. And this is really significant. We've also received recognition for the program. The United States Department of Agriculture, U.S. Forest Service, awarded the program the Regional Foresters Region 8 Honor Award for delivering state and private forestry programs in 2019, the Department of Housing and Urban Development Secretary Award for public philanthropic partnerships in 2018, and then the USDA's highest honor, the Abraham Lincoln Award for protecting natural resources in 2016. And I just wanted to share this picture so you can see a couple of our landowners. These landowners are Tyrone and Edna Williams, and they are part of the Roanoke Electric Sustainable Forestry and Land Retention Program. So thank you for letting me share that. Now we get to hear from our guests. So I wanted to start with, excuse me, I wanted to start with a question for all three of you about why you do this work. So we know that this program is centered around forestry and land retention. All of you have deep experience working with landowners, and for at least one of you, this is working in forestry is new for your organization, but has been important to your organization. But really interested in why do you do this work, and why is this topic of heirs property a critical issue that your organization is seeking to address? So why don't we start with you, Alton? Why does Roanoke Electric do this work?
Good afternoon, everyone. Alton Perry, Program Manager for the Sustainable Forestry Project at Roanoke Electric. Two things I'll say. First, why I do this work is because of the pride I get with helping people, and I see a change in a person's, or see a change in a family's lives through opportunity. So that's from a personal standpoint. Why Roanoke Electric does this is really based on the vision and the thoughts of our CEO, Mr. Curtis Wynn. Roanoke Electric, like other cooperatives, are community-based. Really, they're right in the midst of a community, and they see the every day-to-day struggle. So they want to do whatever they can, regardless of what particular area that they need help, whether it's health, whether it's energy, education. So this falls right in line with assisting Roanoke Electric to meet their mission, enhancing the quality of life through the diversity they serve, and also providing reliable and safe electricity. Our area, like many rural parts of our country, is very economically challenged. However, there is a tremendous amount of forest land in the Roanoke area, and also a tremendous amount of ag land. So we want to take those assets, and which sometimes landowners see those assets as liability because they're not producing or performing. And we want to let them understand that they can perform on many levels, economically, socially, and environmentally.
Thank you, Alton. John, what about McIntosh Seeds?
Well, good evening, everyone. My name again is John Littles. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit, McIntosh Seeds, Sustainable Environment Economic Development. We've been doing community work for about 22 years with the organization. Started out locally, regionally, and now we do this work on a national level. And I think with the experience and the opportunity came to participate in this program, the organization has done a lot working with landowners and farmers in the Southeast, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama. And we've done a lot prior to this project around agriculture and working with farmers and understanding, as Alton just said, the conditions and the lack of resource, maybe the lack of opportunities, but most of all, the lack of education and access to these resources that are available to them, and the lack of connecting them to professional development. And so traveling a lot in Mississippi and seeing in the Delta, a different landscape from coastal Georgia. And we just saw a lot of land and a lot of productive land. And over the 5-6 years that we traveled, we would see like, wow, that's different landscape, because maybe someone that's cut their timber or maybe replanted, and we would see, trees growing and not understanding, like, we just saw wealth, and we saw like, how do they do that, on this amount of land. And so we brought that concept back into Georgia and engaged with our state district conservationists. And, he told us, the same thing you see in agriculture and our program, we do the same in forestry. And we were just blown away by that. And we said, wow, what an opportunity that we're missing. And that we can take the same principle and apply that into forestry. And so that gave us the opportunity to do that and bring our experience into that, but also through the SFLR program and why it was developed, and it specifically targeted African American. And so we were excited about that as an organization to bring that skill level and expertise and resources in to engage families and landowners for those reasons. And the second part, Mavis, is as we all are challenged with heirs property and families, understanding the dynamics of that and how land plays effect, not only land, but tying in the wealth as well and what that means, and start looking at their land as an asset and not a liability. So I would add that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's powerful. Dr. English.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Henry English. I'm the director of the Small Farm Program at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And I've been directing the Small Farm Program for quite a while. And we're in an area, I guess, an agriculture area, basically a row crop. A lot of farms around us are 1,000 acres, 10,000, etc. And most of the farms are just, crop farms. So we've done a lot with crop farms, mostly with the vegetable crop people that run, small acres. But we've done a lot with them. We've helped them use different USDA programs, helped them get loans, helped them increase their yields, and etc. But we've done very little with forestry. One, we're not in the forestry area. Okay, the college is, sits in eastern Arkansas. Most of our students from eastern Arkansas. And in Arkansas, we set up, I guess we have these different colleges. We call them our centers of excellence. And here at UAPB, where I am, our center of excellence is of catfish and baitfish. Okay, so if anybody don't know about catfish or baitfish, they come to UAPB. The University of Arkansas at Monticello is our forestry school. So if you want to know about forestry, go to University of Arkansas at Monticello. So most of the work in forestry, you would think, would be at UAM. But like I said, we didn't do much with forestry people at all. And since we were not the forestry school, that seemed to be okay. But when this opportunity came up, there was an opportunity to work with African Americans, landowners, and forestry. It's a great opportunity for us. We had not had that opportunity before. And so we jumped at this, at this opportunity, and we were quite surprised. We had no idea there were so many African American people in Arkansas that had trees. We had no idea. We found all sort of people. I think we have a list of maybe about 200 people now, that we had before. Whereas before we didn't have hardly any. Okay? And then this gave us a chance to find out that they didn't know anything about the government programs that applied to forestry. I didn't know much about them. I never did with them much. I always did with row crop, livestock, vegetable crop. Never did with forestry like that. But after finding out about these programs being available, to the forestry people, we started educating them, and working with them about that. So we got a great enjoyment out of just finding out that there were so many African Americans that actually had forestry land and that needed just as much help as those people who were growing row crop and livestock. And the last part of your question was about air property. Well, I've always been in air property, I guess, when I found out that the large amount of involuntary land loss that African Americans were having as a result of, as a result of air property. And I know that was always a hard sort of topic to tackle because it takes time. And I'm used to doing something, I like to see results right away, but found out with air property, it takes time. You got to get family members together, come to agreements and et cetera, and it takes time. But what we found out is that by giving people's information about what's available, like the other two said about turning land to making it an asset instead of a liability. When we found that people find out what's available and what they can do, then they're more apt, to do something about it. I was thinking that the last week, some of our staff was on a telephone call with about 24 family members, 24. And they were just talking about, what could be done with the forest land. And again, they didn't know a lot of the programs that were available, et cetera. But I guess after learning about that and everything, then they're more likely to do something with their land. And with that, I will stop.
Thank you, Dr. English. It sounds like from each of you this was a venture for your organization to move into forestry. From Alton's perspective, your career has been around forestry, but this presented a unique opportunity working with the organization that is providing one essential service, which is electricity, but also really cares about the overall well-being of its landowners. And so you were able to bring your expertise in forestry to a program that would empower members of the organization you work with. And then Dr. English and John, you both have deep experience working in agriculture. There may not have been an emphasis on forestry, but when this opportunity came about, you saw that this was a way to expand the impact your organizations have on the communities you serve, and it's proven very beneficial. And it sounds like all of you are very familiar with the heirs property issue and recognize that there is a way to recast how we look at heirs property and infuse opportunity into working with heirs property owners rather than thinking of it as a problem, thinking of an opportunity that they can actually enhance their experience as landowners and their ability to keep their land through forestry. I'll share, I came to the program from my law practice. So I had a law practice where I was working specifically with landowners who have heirs property, but also helping families do estate planning and address issues that they have with the states. And for me, the SFLR program presented an opportunity to have peers who were doing this work. So not a lot of lawyers will work on heirs property matters. And so in a way, I was kind of fearless other than having the attorneys at the Center for Heirs Property and then a couple of folks elsewhere. And so being a part of the SFLR program has allowed me to pursue my personal passion of helping families keep their land and have peers. The peers just happen to be foresters, ag professionals, economic development professionals, et cetera. So it's really been a joy to be here. I took a look at the chat box and folks are sharing who they are and where they're from and what they do and why they came to this program today. We have a mixture. We have, of course, landowners. We also have other professionals who work with landowners, whether they're in the conservation space or the forestry space. And then we have people who are really interested in social justice issues. John, Alton, and Dr. English, would you share with the group, if you could, 2 or 3 key points that you think it's important for them to understand about this issue of heirs property that you want to make sure to get across with whether it's respect to Ayers property specifically or thinking more generally about land ownership.
Okay. You want me
And either one of you can start. I don't know if anyone, Alton, are you ready to go?
Yeah, since Dr. English was the last one to talk, I'll just keep bringing it back to the circle. So this work that's being done on the ground through forestry and Ayers property really is about community-based work, and it's really about education. You know, when you look at history and you look at statistics, most African-American landowners have not had access to technical assistance. So that means they really haven't been outreached to, and they really haven't been brought that information that they can see where that technical assistance can help them, assist them with forestry or general agricultural practices or conservation practices. So what these organizations do is really get, on the ground, and we really bring these people this information. And the key point here is that while information has been brought to the African American community, oftentimes it's brought and it's left. What these organizations do is they bring that information and they stay engaged in the community, walking these landowners through the process. That's where I think the disconnect happens. Not that USDA has not been trying to do the outreach, but it's just through capacity and you're working in communities. These organizations have people who are right there with them through the entire process. And what they hope that will happen is that these landowners now become empowered where they now can lead other landowners through this process. Ayers property is a part of it, but again, a lot of this is around social aspects and family dynamics that I'm learning. Is that getting landowners or getting family members to talk with each other, get that conversation going, and then understanding the benefits overall that their farmland or forest land can bring, not only economically, which is very good, but also again, how it's helping and benefiting the local environment, and also social aspects, whether it's hunting or fishing or other recreational opportunities. So that's what we really do, is stay together with these landowners and walk them through this process so they can one, gain trust. We as community-based organizations, we bring those agencies to the landowners. When you're working in underserved communities, there are some nuances that you have to understand. Is that one of the best ways to get information to your audience is working in partnerships, as Mavis said earlier, with these different community-based organizations, regardless if it's forestry, agriculture, or health issues, education issues. You have to learn and gain the trust of your community. And oftentimes you just cannot walk in with, saying, I'm here to help you and, we can help you. So you can't do that. You really need to partner with these community-based organizations to have those services be infused in that community.
Thank you, Alton. John, what about you? So Alton has said that trust and relationships are key to this work, that it's not just that you provide information or that you provide resources. It is an ongoing relationship, and it requires trust to build those relationships. What's the key point from your perspective that is important for folks to know?
You're on mute.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll expand from Alton, looking at engagement, landowner engagement, right, and education. So I think the more that landowners are engaged and educated to feel a part of the process, to understand the process, to build those relationships, building trust. And I think, as he said, like you got retention and repetitiveness with landowners. So we may touch that landowner 15, 20, 30 times, through phone calls, through site visit, one-on-one sessions, applications. So they become, a part of the process as well. And then they have trust. I think uh, engaging as an organization with not only the landowner, but the resources that are out there as well, and helping to shape that and mediate those processes as well. Building the second part, I would say, is partnerships are crucial in this work, working with landowners and heirs property. So how do you build those non-traditional relationships and partnerships that maybe don't usually exist into our communities or into the pockets of community where we can gather folks in churches or different settings, that we will be able to present outreach and education to them about these services, resources, and programs that are available to them. And most people are excited about having those opportunities and understanding and learning where those opportunities are coming from. And so they usually stay engaged. But heirs property is, as Alton said, there's a lot of dynamics in the African American communities where, uh, sometimes it may not be talked about, or, the different dynamics of relationships in families around heirs property. And so, how do you find that right person in that family to start the dialogue, to start the conversation with, and then not allow that to monopolize one person in that family? And how do you bring in others to get them to the table to hear the same information? And I think that's been a key to us in this heirs property and getting families to participate, is to getting multiple family members to the table. That way, everyone is hearing the same information at the same time, and everyone is able to, ask questions of their own rather than interpret through, one person in the family. So I think that's been one targeted approach that we have used, and I think a lot of the other SFLR partners have done as well too. So I would say those: education and building partnerships and family, building and getting to a point to have family mediation helps with the heirs property.
Thank you for that, John. I want to build on a point that you made, and pose this question to Dr. English. So, we talked about the need to have relationships, the need to have trust in order to build those relationships. And then you're even going into like the importance of being strategic and how you work with the family members and to ensure that you are able to get information across to all of the family member owners and speak with the individuals who are able to navigate the process with your organization. Dr. English, would you talk about the role of our younger generations? I know that you're at a university and you've been in this space your whole career. What, if any, significance do the younger generations play in this work?
Thank you. Yes, that's very, very important. The younger generation, and I'm thinking back to when we started, and I want to go back to something that Alton said about this trust factor. I think one of the requirements for obtaining the grant was that the community had to trust you. Okay, and generally, we being from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, many years ago, some of the peoples in the area had graduated from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And, in the past about the Black farmers lawsuit and et cetera, there was a lot of mistrust of the government, et cetera. So it's a lot of times when people from the government do come up and talk to them, people are reluctant, to even deal with them. So being from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, I think that helped us out. Plus, we start having our meetings in churches, in Black churches. So we're from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and we talk to them, in the church. And right off the bat, I think we realized that, a lot of these people that we were working with, they were in the process of, fixing the land up. And it was not going to be there for them. It's sometimes, you know, it takes 25, 35 years to get a crop off. So that's not a lot of incentive for somebody my age or a little young and et cetera. So it's very important that we get these young people, you know, involved, you know, and get them at the meeting and let them hear what was going on. When we were having our meetings, I think one of the things that I did like at one time, we would cover the whole gamut. When I say that, we would talk about the forest land, and then we would talk about the air property issue. Okay, and I think that education about air property, you know, about what could be done, you know, about the problems, that helped out. You know, that helped quite a bit. But also, those younger peoples need to be involved. We kept stressing that fact that young peoples need to be involved. Let's get these young peoples involved, et cetera. And I think some of them begin to actually do that. But it is very critical, I think, for young people to be involved. And another thing that I would say, even now the uniform or the petition, the Harris Property Act is, you know, is active in Arkansas. A lot of people still don't know that. A lot of folks are not aware of that, you know. So I think it's constant education. You have to constantly get that out. Even though, you know, it's been out, I think, been in Arkansas, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. A lot of people still don't know about it. We talk to people, you know, they've never heard of that. So it's constantly getting that education out. We have to constantly, you know, constantly give it out. I think about advertising our program again. I have to constantly do that, even though it's been here for 3 or 4 years. Yeah, some people don't know about it. A guy called me the other day. He said, "Hey, I read about your program in the, you know, in the newspaper. Been going on for how many years? Look, I got some land, 100-some acres. Okay, yeah, we've met with him now. But had we not constantly kept getting that information out, some people still miss it, you know, like that. And I was some of the other thing, some of the young kids will also see that information and they will tell their mom and dad, hey, that this project is going on. But I think it is very critical that we work with these young folks and we make a special effort to get them involved. And we've been doing that by encouraging all the people at the meeting, you know, to bring the younger peoples in, A lot of times the people are not interested in the land, you know, they're at a certain age, but they have some kids. If the kids can come in, learn what's available, how this land can be an asset instead of a liability or something, okay, then they are more likely, you know, to take up the land, take up the mail.
So it sounds like part of the succession planning. So when we've talked about or thought about succession planning is from a legal perspective, but it sounds like in doing this work, it's also important to engage multiple generations, including the younger generations, as a way to plan for the future and, you know, have people who are educated for multiple generations. That's really important too, that you have to make sure that every aspect of the family is educated on the program. So we got carried away with the sharing and didn't allow as much time as we'd hoped for questions, but I do want to make sure that folks who have questions are able to ask them. Kelsey, are there any questions in the chat box that we should answer? Or if you know how to use, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I don't see any yet other than the one you answered for Melissa earlier.
Okay. You can either, for efficiency, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question now, or you can use the chat box or even do one of the emoji reactions to say, hey, I have a question, like I just did. Are there any questions for the group?
I was wondering how you work sustainability into your forestry services, or like how, just kind of what the practices there are.
Okay. So first of all, a lot of the landowners that we work with in the Roanoke area project sites, oftentimes are first-time landowners getting involved in the conservation world or putting conservation practices. Oftentimes they have not worked with any of the local, state, federal, or county agencies along conservation. So really, you know, one of the first things we advocate them to do and encourage them to do is get that forest management plan. That's one of the first things. So to get an idea of what's out there, how it's growing. Also, we sit down and try to determine through them what their objectives are for the land. And then we match those services and programs to those objectives. And so through that, we are one, as I said, getting forest management plans. We're starting to get more landowners doing reforestation after harvest. There's, many thousands of acres that have been harvested in the past, and there was no attempt or encouragement to, plant trees or reforest it. It was oftentimes said, well, Mother Nature will put it back. Well, yeah, she would. She'll put something back. But it's better to have more of a planned process as to happenstance, if you will. So we run the gamut to prescribe fire, pre-commercial thinning, wildlife habitat improvements. So all of those conservation practices and plans are being implemented by a lot of these landowners who are first time engaging these services.
And I would add on a program-wide level, we have been engaging in the conservation space. We just joined the Forest Climate Working Group and are also considering the 1 Trillion Trees initiative. So it's also, sustainability is also important on a network level. John, we have a question for you. Someone has asked if you could share a story of success for one of your landowners or families in doing this work.
Thank you. What comes to mind is we had about 5 landowners got approved for EQIP. If you know what that is, those are through NRCS conservation practice that they applied for and was awarded. And most of these landowners were small landowners, or they've been challenged with trying to find a vendor to get those practices done. And so last year, we created a model for Mavis, lost my train of thought. Clustering, sorry.
Yeah,
Clustering model. And so we the year that they had to put the practice on the ground was becoming to expire. We were able to get a approval and extension from NRCS for those landowners. We were able to find a vendor to do these 5 landowners and cluster their conservation practices. What ended up benefits from that was they all got them done within 2 weeks. And they were all in a 10, 12-mile radius. So that saved on the vendor side, that also saved on the landowner side. And the projected total cost of savings to the landowners amounted to $5,000 that they save if they had to do this individually and get a single vendor or contractor out there to do those. So we did the group clustering with the practices, and amounted to a savings to the landowner and small landowner of $5,000.
Thank you, John. We had another question from the group, which I'll try to respond to, but of course you can respond if you think my answer is incomplete. So the question was, are there other income generating opportunities such as hunting leases, plant flora harvesting, et cetera, and how are they incorporated into the management plan? So I will say yes, all of our sites individualize their approach with each of the landowners on the different opportunities that the landowners have on their land. And it includes those things that you described and other things. Some landowners have even participated in conservation easements. Is it fair to say that that's pretty accurate, John, Alton, and Dr. English?
Yeah, I would also add harvesting, and we're working on clustering our harvesting project. So the same concept that we did on conservation practices. So same thing as harvesting. Our community forest, we do have a hunting lease. And then we also use it as a demonstration site for conservation practices and efforts in outreach and education.
Yeah,
So it's 4:31. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I do want to check in. It's 4:31. I understand that folks may be hopping off. So we'll be here because we have another session after this. But if you want to continue answering questions and asking questions, please continue. Alton, were you going to say something?
yeah, I was just gonna say real quick, anytime you put forth a program or you work in a program, you hope to see some actual behavioral changes. And one of the behavioral changes that I've seen in our program, because I've worked in this area of forestry for 30 some odd years now. And when it comes to timber sales, as John was mentioning, oftentimes landowners who are uneducated, regardless of ethnicity, but probably more disproportionate with African American landowners, they tend to not use forestry professionals to conduct timber sales. Oftentimes, they don't get the value that they should be getting when they do that timber sale. We've seen it time and time again. But through our education, through our working with our landowners and working with our partners, consulting foresters, state agency forest service, we have seen landowners now actually stop and pause when they are approached either by phone or by letter that someone is interested in purchasing the timber. It would be that that person would just, take the first offer. Now they are pausing, calling us and saying, what are the steps I should take? I heard you talk about this in a recent workshop or landowner meeting you had. Who are those consulting foresters out there that I can connect with to ensure I'm getting the value for my timber? So that is just speaks greatness of all these programs, that when you see an actual behavioral change in a landowner doing something that can save them money and also increase that value of their wood products that they're receiving.
You know, mute.
Muted.
Sorry, okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And we also had a comment from the chat box from David, who is with the Center for Heirs Property, of course, with Center for Heirs Property. He said that when those landowner clusters go to harvest, the landowners also have an easier time getting bids on many acres versus few acres, and they'll benefit from the higher prices. Thank you for that, David. So we'll wrap up here so that our guests can have a break before you move to your next session. But thank you very much for joining us, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great questions.
I think the four of us can just stay on this line, on this
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Great job, everyone.
Great job.
Yeah, great job. I'll shorten the overview so that you all have more time to speak, unless you think it's helpful to have that full.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Love the hair.
What time we start? 4:45?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. I have to make a quick phone call, so I'm just going to mute, but I'll still be.
Okay.
Dr. English. So it's good to always have that good family support. But I don't know, man. Your support came in kind of late at the end there. I don't know. You might have to talk to somebody.
Oh, oh yeah, I did see that. I got you.
Alton, I do have a job. So he better be happy I made it at all.
Oh man, how you doing, Ann?
All right.
Good, good.
How you doing, Miss English?
All right. All right.
Good.
Yep.
How you doing? Oh, mercy. I guess I'll turn the camera on.
Yeah, I didn't know if she would be doing a session at this same time or not. I didn't know what the schedule was. I didn't know what the
I did
schedule-
mine earlier.
Okay, so I didn't know what the schedule was. Yeah.
Yeah, I did mine earlier. And then I had to leave. I got off and take care of some stuff, other phone calls and emails and all that stuff. Had another conference call and finished up with it and then jumped back on.
Wow.
I understand.
Yep, it was a busy time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it until I just kind of thought about it today. I've got 5 presentations this week.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my 4th one.
Whew.
I got one more on Friday.
Oh my goodness. Mm.
But they've been good. They've all been good and enjoyed it.
Great. Everybody ready for Thanksgiving?
Maybe.
Oh yes.
Oh, during a pandemic, probably as ready as we can get, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, that's a true statement.
Well, it'd be good for the break.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, Janet, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good to see you.
I'm gonna join your second one. I'll keep my face off though, so real people will talk. How'd your first one go?
I think it went pretty well. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, we're well.
Yeah, we had lots of comments and questions.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah. Maybe you should ask Kelsey, so she's not.
It
part of
went
this thing.
great. Yeah. It
What
was
else would you say if it wasn't Kelsey?
What'd you say?
Would you say if it wasn't?
No, I would not. No, but it went really well. It was good. We had a lot of interaction, so that's always good.
That's always good. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good.
We've been doing Zoom webinars, obviously during the pandemic, for all of our informational sessions, and we're always saying how because it's just every time it's a Zoom meeting, and people might be getting zoomed out because everyone's using Zoom, but I think it's really good that people were super engaged. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is more people can participate, whereas some people wouldn't be able to go to a conference, they can come to the Zoom meeting
Yeah.
and people are getting more and more used to, writing all that stuff in chat. I mean, you got to really learn how to like read the chat, read the Q&A,
Yes.
you got multiple conversations going on.
Yeah, that's something
Exercises the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we realized because everything we did was at the center was in person prior to this, and so it was interesting to see that there was another group of people that we were reaching because it was online.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's one good thing about COVID, I guess.
That's about the only.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Your family staying safe down there, John?
Pretty much. Yeah, we are. I mean, we're doing just like everybody else, trying to do what we need to do, adjust. It's been hard with, most of my mother-in-law and my aunts, they all are a little bit older. So, not much, face-to-face interactions,
Mhm.
so adjusting to that.